Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, I'm back with a crypto update, and we can see right now the price hasn't really done anything at all. We're resting really on support, so just kind of wait and see what happens here. So this video is going to more be a recap of what we already talked about, plus a couple other things. But yeah, Bitcoin's holding this zone here. The idea is for it to, well, there's actually a couple ideas. Number one, we hold support in this zone, right? So anywhere between 66,000 and 67,500, that would be nice to do. Right now we're holding that zone pretty well. So yeah, let's see if we can keep holding this zone. But I have to be honest, it's looking a little bearish right now on the smaller time frames. But I mean, a lot of times the market makers, they'll make it look a certain way so that traders position themselves for that, and then bam, it goes the opposite direction, right? I'll show you an example later on. Yeah, we can see, like, look at the smaller time frames and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Like real small, like let's go to the 10-minute or even smaller than that. Look at this. You can see it's pretty choppy waters on the small time frame. Like if we go back to yesterday on the close, right? So I got about let's see, about a day and a half of price action right here, and you can see you get spiked up, brought down, spike up, right back down, spike up, back down, and then you have these little spikes, spike up, back down, spike up, back down, spike up, short, up, short, right? Spike up, short, spike up, short. And then even in here, you have these little spikes in here. So usually when that happens, I mean, they're gearing up for something, right? I mean, there's a story being told in here, and I'm not sure how to read it quite yet, but it definitely, when you zoom more out, it's definitely pointing down, right? I mean, that's the way it looks. It's pointing down. Now, could it be finished? Could it be finished? It could be, right? I mean, we have a three-way move, 1, 2, 3. So they're kind of like, playing around in here. Maybe they spike the low and then they continue higher. I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see on that. But what I do know is the higher time frames. So let's just, look at that, and we can see the higher time frames are still incredibly bullish. We are still meandering in the retracement levels, right? So, when we put these retracement levels down, we are still holding above the 618. That's going to be the goal, is to hold above that level. If not, then it's not a big deal, right? Because we still have more support down in here. And, sometimes, the price will run into the retracement levels and then have to come back to a lower retracement level to reset itself. So far what I see are actually more than that. Let's talk about it. So number one, obviously, is the I used to say ABC, but I mean, you could say A, right? And then B, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave C. Someone can argue on a higher time frame, right? You don't have that 5-wave move. You don't really see it as much, right? You can see this wave isn't proportional with this wave. So you can say, well, it's just a 3-wave move. So what we have is a WXY. And then we have a wave 1, we have a wave 2, and then we have another 1, and then maybe this is an A, B, and now we're going down for C, A, B, C. And we're going to back test this level down in here before continuing higher. That would be the number one idea that I have, right? So that could look different though, because we can get down here and we can go sideways, right, for a while and then go to the upside. So some type of reaccumulation will take place, right? And then that brings me to my next idea. So these two ideas are kind of the same, just labeled differently, which is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, and then blast off. So that's how I would look at that idea. The other idea is to say, now, those are two bullish ideas. I'm going to give you two bearish ideas. And when I say bearish, I just mean short-term bearish. So we have W, X, and Y, which is 3. And then we have another 3, right? Because this is not a trend yet. That's not a trend. That's only 3 waves. We have 1, 2, 3. So if this is a W, and this is an X, and this is a Y, and this is another X wave, then we can get a Z wave. So it would be W, X, Y, X, and Z. So, that would be definitely a bullish correction. And what that is a triple correction. They call it a triple combo in Elliot wave, and that would get us down to around that 50K sort of area down in here, where we take out this low and we grab all of this liquidity that's down in here to then take it to the upside. So be on the lookout for that. That could totally happen. And if it did happen, then it would surely wreck a lot of alts in its awakening. And we'll talk about that too. So that's that idea. The next idea is basically the same idea, except it's not a WXYXZ. It's basically just an A, a B, and a C. And now we're getting ready to go. So, but that ABC also has a variant to it, which we already discussed, right? So it'd be a rise, crash, retrace, and then somewhat of a longer reaccumulation that actually goes back down even lower than how I'd drawn it before. And we kind of go sideways for a little bit longer, and then we go. So those are kind of the ideas. And again, it's very challenging when you're in the middle of the retracement level, right? So you have your top, right? You have your bottom. And you're right sort of in the middle here. I mean, you're in the upper part, which is good. That's what you want to be. You want to be in the upper part, not in the lower part. So the fact that we're hanging out up here is good. The way it looks, it doesn't look so good right now. But I imagine, tomorrow's Thursday, and usually Thursdays we've been getting some big moves volatility-wise. So is it going to break up? Is it going to break down? So we'll talk about the small time frames now. So this could either be right off the bat, I see 1, 2, 3. And then you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So we have an ABC pullback. Well, first of all, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a 5-wave move. We have an ABC pullback. And then we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move. And then we have another ABC pullback. right? Maybe the ABC is not done. Maybe it goes down a little bit more without taking out this low. If it takes out the low, then it's not that. So what we have is a wave 1, 2, and this is 1, 2 of the third, and now we're in the middle of the third of the third, and the third of the third also has 5 waves, so this could be the first of that. And then here's the pullback, and we're getting ready for the third of the third, which is a pretty bigger, right? Maybe we go sideways a little bit, then we get that big third wave. I don't really like it a lot, just because the way it's shaped. I mean, to me, this doesn't resemble a 5-wave move. It more looks like an ABC. It has that 3-wave-ish shape. Right? You do have this, but it should be something like this. But the fact that it curled around and then spiked the high and then it came down, it just reminds me of a 3-wave move. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. So what else could it be? I mean, it obviously it could be that, but what else could it be? Well, we have, let's say this is still 3. We have another 3, and we have another 3. And maybe this 3 comes down like this, or it could even turn into 5, right? Which is either an ABC or a WXY. So what you have there is still very, very, very bullish. You have a 1, 2, right? And then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have a WXY if it's 3, or an ABC. If this wave is 3, it's a WXY. If this wave is 5, it's an ABC. So if it's 3, 3, 5, ABC. If it's 3, 3, 3, WXY. Right? If it's 5, 3, 5, ABC. So those are kind of the parameters for, it's really the same move, it's just labeled a little differently. So if I had to guess, that would be right in line with what I'm thinking here is playing out. So what could happen is that could be finished, when we get down in here, or it could be finished now. It's hard to say. But we'll know ahead of time, right? It's not like we have to know right now. You don't have to know right this second. You just let it play out, and then you can see. So there's going to be opportunities if you're still waiting. I'm not sure why, right? If you're a hodler or an investor, you should be already in, right? And people say, well, when's the best time to buy? Well, if you're hodling, the best time to buy was yesterday, right? So it meaning it doesn't matter really, as long as you're spreading out your entries to get an overall average of of the price. So yeah, that's that's basically what I got here is, let's hold the line here on this ABC, not let it get it too big. But yeah, that's it. So, and the other thing I would say is if it gets more complex, more nasty, then we need to hold this area here. We don't want to go below. So if this is a 1, 2, we don't want to go below this first wave, right? So, I mean, let's look here. I would say that close to here, or actually, yeah, right about there. So if it goes in that zone, it's okay, but you really don't want to cross into the price territory of wave 1. But since it's pretty close already, I mean, it's not uncommon for it to be. And if it's a diagonal, then that could be the case. But we'll talk about that if we start to see something like that. Let's see, anything else? No, that's about it for Bitcoin. So let's move on to Theta. So Theta, honestly, looks a little worse. It's just resting on support. It's just not what you want to be here. You know, it's not looking good. I'll give you an example. I'll flip the chart upside down. Now you could say it looks bad, and it could be, right? Now, when I say bad, I mean actually good, right? We're going down. You could say that, you know, we're trying to break out here, right? Here's our top. We're trying to break it. 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 And you notice these little hills, right? They're big, and they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually, sometimes you just crush right through it. It's sort of got that descending triangle look to it, where volatility is just low and then it just comes right back down. I'll show you right here in Bitcoin very fast. The same thing happened to Bitcoin right here. It's the same thing. Look at this. Notice how you have this little area here, right? And it actually extends out further, right? So you have this, boom, it's getting big, or it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and goes sideways, and then bam, it goes right down. So that's what it reminds me of. Now, it's not going to be as big and dramatic as that, I wouldn't think, obviously, right? Because this is the big time frame on Bitcoin. But you know, when we look at the price of Theta, it's still incredibly bullish, right, on the larger time frames. So you know, we're still essentially building our base in here. So as long as we stay in this range, building our base, we're fine. We're doing really well. You know, we came down in a nice ABC, back test the bull market support band, back tested it again. Could we back test it again? Absolutely. Would it be uncommon to do that? No. So let's go back and take a closer look here. So you can see what I mean, right, when we were comparing it to the price of Bitcoin, how it sort of has that little look where it kind of is starting to wane down here. Now, we are resting on support here, right? Obviously here, all through here. Actually, let me skim it out a little bit. There we go. So let me just put it all through here. And that's sort of the zone here. And that's kind of like that pivot point, right? If we break out, you can see a lot of confluence in this area. See, when it came up, resistance, even right here was resistance, and came down. Now it's holding it as support. So basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're coming down to back test this area all in here, right? We're coming back to back test it. So are we going to hold the back test? I mean, you don't necessarily have to hold the third wave. You really want to hold the first wave, but you don't have to hold the third. So what I think is happening is this is some type of A. This is a 3-wave B. And now this is the beginning of a C wave. And this is a 1. And this is a 2. And now we're starting that third wave. So it just seems like there's more downside, right? It could turn into another 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we could just, you know, come down. So it would be an A, B, and a C. It would be an AB. It would be an ABC. We get down here, right, somewhere there. So let me show you the retracement levels on that. So if I take this, I'll put them right about there, and I got to make sure there. take it off log scale. So the zone that I would be watching for is between $2.10 and $2.16. So let me take that off. So somewhere right there. That's kind of what I would see. That's where I would like to hold the price. And what we could have then is a 1-2, right? So if we have a 1-2, then maybe go sideways a little bit and then get ready for that third wave. So it really, there's really not much to say until the price action works itself out in here. It seems like it's going to go down. There could be shenanigans where they pop it to this. If you get a very fast spike to the upside, it's usually a trap. It's usually a trap. Like when they come up and they spike it very fast, especially when it looks pretty bearish already, it's usually, they're going to come and bring it back down. So just be aware of shenanigans, right? So, yeah, that's the price of Theta. I mean, you do have a head and shoulders as well, right? I mean, you can clearly see the head and shoulders pattern, right? You can see these failed attempts. We're coming up, we can't do it. We come up, we can't do it. We come up, we can't. And then it makes this pattern, this head and shoulders pattern. So you couldn't, just because Theta looks bearish, doesn't mean it's bearish in the macro. It just, on this time frame, it needs a little correcting to do. I mean, you have to remember when Theta went up, right? When it had this rally, it was one of the bigger rallies. I mean, we went up about 35%. So that was a pretty nice wave there. So far, we've corrected about 15%. So a little less than 50% of that wave we corrected. So it does meet the requirements, but it just looks like it needs to finish, right? It doesn't look finished. But I mean, you can make money on this going short, right? I mean, this is not financial advice, and I'm not saying to go short. But if you wanted to look for a short, I would watch this line. I mean, you can see how we come down, we grab liquidity. I mean, it could be also a liquidity grab, right? I mean, the market makers are making it look like it's very bearish, right? They're resting it, and what they're doing is they're accumulating, right? So they're just busy accumulating. So when we get these spikes, they have to come in and short them, and they say, no, I'm not done accumulating. And they spike up again. No, I'm not done accumulating, right? So then, sometimes they can spike it to the downside and then it'll come right back up. So you got to be very careful in here and just wait, and you'll know, right? I mean, there's a couple ways you can play it if you're trading. One, I want to short from a distance. Right? So if I had a spike up, that would be a good short. Shorting it on support is never really a good idea because it could easily come back up and then you can get screwed up, right? So you kind of want to wait until it comes back up. Now, if it doesn't come back up, then you wait for it to break it, right? And then if it breaks it and it closes below, you can see the 2-hour candles. We haven't had a 2-hour candle close, right, below that zone. So if we do, or even maybe a 1 hour, then you can take the short. Now, if you want to be even more conservative than that, you wait for it to fall, then you wait for it to come back up, and now you're shorting it at resistance. So it broke down, and now it's coming up, now it's resistance. And then you short it here, and then, you can finish out the trade. So it could be potentially a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would finish wave C. Right? Look for a divergence between the 4th and the 5th. But yeah, that's kind of the way it looks to me right now. Now, if we don't take out this wick, that would actually be good, right? Because there's your low right there. So we could actually just, all we could do is actually just come down and retest the low. So what's the measured move of this head here? So if we take the value of the head, right, and then we put it right about there, it actually takes us a little bit below that wick, which would make sense, right, because there's a lot of stop losses right here. So, you know, people's stop losses get triggered, it comes down, it triggers, you know, it taps into this liquidity that's resting below here, and there's a lot of liquidity resting below here too, right? So that's kind of what I would wait for on the price of Theta. Now, we have a lot of wiggle room, right? I mean, we got, let's see, from where we are now, we got about 10% to the downside. I mean, we could still fall 10% and still be bullish, right? And you can see the bull market support band is actually lining up with our wave one at the moment, just about. So if this bull market support band is going to pass this line here, then you really don't want to break below this first wave. But yeah, it just looks like it needs to finish here. So that's the update on Theta. And if I draw a line, I can't remember if it broke it or not. I think it did break it. Yeah. So it broke the line. Let me actually zoom out. And we're still above the line, right, on an 8-hour scale. So we came up and we're just kind of meandering here. So it could come down and tag this line here and then kind of continue working its way down a little bit, finishing out the C wave while remaining above the line. Because that would be nice to stay above the downward resistance line, because if we came back in, it would kind of look like a fake out, right? So, which brings me to our bigger idea, right? If this is very bearish, right, and let's say Bitcoin can't hang out, right, and it decides to say, you know what, I'm going to go with that WXYXZ pattern, or a longer correction, right, that takes more time, that's more equal to this correction here that we've been talking about. So you can see how long this correction is, right? So we could get something equal in size. That's all I'm saying, right? If we stay in that zone, you know, it's still technically bullish because of the, you know, we're in a correction. But for me, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have this big correction here, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would think there's another big correction in here. So how that looks, that's really interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, there's the ideas we just discussed, but is it going to look like this? Probably not. I mean, it'll probably be looking different to some extent. Now, this one actually took out the high. See, it went up quick and it took out the high. Then it came down. This one looks like it's already, you know, found resistance and it's coming back. So we'll see how it holds up in here. I mean, again, if it comes down and it goes sideways into reaccumulation, and then it basically what it's doing is it's killing time, right? Because you want, see, the thing with price and correcting is, yes, it corrects through price. That's obvious. But you also correct through time. Time is just as important as the price. Because when people see a $67,000 Bitcoin, right, they're not quite used to it yet. I mean, $70,000 Bitcoin, we've hit it before, right? But we're not used to that price. So the longer it trades, between 65 and 70, for weeks and weeks, the more people get used to the fact that, okay, this is the new normal, right? This is the new normal, and this is what, this is basically normal, right? So yeah, I think, we have a chance to, kill some time in here. And what that means for Theta, well, depending on what type of correction it could be, is either, right, we have a 1, 2, 1, 2. We could get something like that, right? And we talked about that many times, where we come back down and we actually back test this area in here. So if we can do that, that would actually look really, really bullish, because that would be a 1, 2, 1, 2, and this would be an ABC, right? And then we kind of build a base, right? Because look how much resistance was in here. This was a lot. I mean, this was from what was this? November. Well, really, actually, going back over here, June 2022, all the way till December of 2023. So basically, a whole year, resistance, and then you break it, a massive break. You can easily come all the way back down and back test this 1 year long resistance to make it the new support. So just understand that that could totally happen. And if it did happen, it would be very, very bullish, because it would look like a 1-2, but we need to hold that. That would be our last line there. We have to hold that right in there, right? Especially we don't want to break this low here. I mean, technically you want to back test, build a base, right? And then continue higher. And that would be a big 1-2, 1-2. So what that would be in the small time frame is right, you have this move down, and then you have this 3-wave move up. That's a B wave, and now you're coming down for wave C, right? So it'd be an A, a B, and a C. The B wave is a little shallow, so I'm not sure how that will look, but yeah, that's sort of the bearish case. Am I leaning towards that bearish case? No, I'm still leaning bullish. I'm still thinking we're gonna, kick this going. But if Bitcoin, I obviously, with charts, you're allowed to change your mind. Just because it looks like something one day, or I should say 1 week, maybe the next week things change, and then now it starts looking different. But as of now, you have to still remain bullish, because we're still in this upper area here. So unless the price proves itself and it starts breaking support and it's not looking good, then we can adjust our targets, right? But we really have two ideas, and that's either right, and it sounds funny, right? It's up or down, but it's usually it's going to be up, or it's going to be down then up. So that's kind of what we have here, right? And both of these have a lot of sideways action before they head on up. But ultimately, the overall direction, when you zoom all the way out, right? This is not the right Theta chart. When you zoom all the way out, this is ultimately a bullish chart. I mean, just because we're, working this out doesn't mean anything, right? Because look how big this base was, and it exploded, right? You can see this first wave here is kind of reminiscent of this first wave, and you can see what it did. It came down and it went sideways for a while. So let's take this bars pattern And I'm going to take it from the base here, and then I'm going to go up. So if I put it, right, overlay it, just, not trying to know what the price is doing, but just for time purposes, you can see we're almost there. You can see we're getting pretty close, and it does sort of match up. I mean, it does actually match up actually pretty nicely with the fractal. So, when I take this up, you could see right here. You can see obviously we come down, we come up, we hit the high. We come down, we come up, we hit the high. Then we come down, back down to the low. We come back down to the low. Then we sort of have this little hump in here. We have this little hump in here. Then we come up and take out the high. Then we come up and take out the high. I mean, it's the same thing, guys. That's look at that. And then what do? We come all the way down, right? We're not there yet, but we're working our way down. Then we kind of trend sideways, going back up. Then we come down, we tag the low down here, and then we start working our way up. So that would be kind of the main idea, right? That would be sort of the main situation that I could see playing out. I mean, it's playing out so far. We're not quite there with time goes. So speaking of time, when would that be around? I would say between the beginning of June to mid-June, we should start to see something, right? I mean, we're almost in June now. So I would say more towards the middle of June. I would say give it 2 weeks, and let's see how it matures. Obviously, we're going to be tracking it more than, we're going to be tracking it almost every day. So make sure to hit subscribe. So that's it for Theta. Stick around because other charts might be telling a story that aligns, or maybe a story that disagrees. Yeah, Matic looks, I mean, it's just resistance. I mean, we just can't get through it. You can see how we're going red, green, red, green, red, green. Usually when that happens, you're going back down. Or if you have red, green at the bottom, you're usually going back up, right? So I think it needs to come down and finish this correction here from Matic. Now, where exactly am I talking? Well, at least, about right there, about 68 cents to 70 cents. And we're actually pretty close, but, according to that, the Fibonacci level. But ultimately, I kind of expect a retracement. You could see how fast this fell. I mean, it fell quite quickly. So you would think, if it does come hit the low, you would think eventually it would come up and make its retracement. So what we could have here is an, is an A, and now we're coming down for B, and then we come C. So it's like a flat pattern, it's some kind of potential flat where you have 3, 3, and then 5. So I would look for that. Actually, I like that a lot. And then once we get up here, right, usually when you get this, you come back down. But, I have a good feeling that we could probably hold up here. I mean, it probably won't look good because think about it. If we do come up here, you're going to have this shoulder, you have this head, and now you're coming back up. Now, if you come back down just a little bit, it's going to look like a nasty head and shoulders pattern. So just, be aware of that. I'm still very bullish, but my feelings are a little bit changed. I'm starting to think, Bitcoin might be in store for a little bit bigger correction than we think. because I like to say, this is a simple A, B, C, and it very well could be, right? And that's what we talked about. A, B, C. We touched the bull market support band. We have a 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's go. I mean, that could totally happen. But some of these altcoins, man, they just look like, I don't know. Maybe they need more time. Again, that doesn't change my investment. It doesn't change my hodl. It doesn't change my long-term perspective. It doesn't change that, this is an election year, right? So, remember, we got the Ethereum ETFs. We got the crypto bill. We have an XRP lawsuit ending. We have the XRP ETF, maybe a Solana ETF, maybe a Litecoin ETF, right? I mean, there's to me, there's so much upside with crypto, but when you look at it in regards of price action, price is really an equation that has to do with time, and sometimes things need to match up. Like, if this is a wave 1 and this is a wave 2. So wave 2 is there, and this is a wave 3, and this is a wave 4. So if a wave 4 and wave 2 have to kind of, not all the time, they don't have to be a perfect match, but you want them to kind of be a little bit cohesive. Now, here's the thing. We could still get this, right? And let me show you that here. We can still totally get that up here. So here's our base, right? Look at this. And then all I'm going to do is just put it right there. So we haven't gotten that yet, right? So we could still go 1, 2. All of this is 3. This is 4. This is 5. And then get something big like this, right? Where we come up, come back down, come sideways, and then go. So be aware of that happening as well. I would say we have two options. Number 1, right? We come up, we go sideways. Or why don't we just go sideways now, since we're already 1/3 of the way there, right? I mean, what's one more high when you have to go and go sideways for how long is that? I think it was 150 days or so, or 100 days. So since we're already, in the middle of it, why not just finish it out? Just go up, just finish it out a little bit, and then we already meet the requirements, and then we don't have to worry about that. We can just keep rolling. There's pros and cons to both arguments. I mean, you kind of want to say there could be another high, right? I mean, because you have a 1, 2, 1, 2. If this is 3, 4, 5, maybe you get another 4, 5, right? Because you have a 1, 2, 1, 2. So we could come up and spike the high still. But, it could turn into a bigger flat as well. So let me show you that idea. I don't think I showed that yet. So similar to the way this broke the high, we could come up and take out the high, right? And then get everybody bullish, everybody goes long, and then we come down, and then we go sideways, and then we break out. So that could be a running flat, what that is. So what you would have is really an A, a B, and then you come down for C, and then you go. Or it could be a regular flat where you come all the way back down to the low and then go. Or it could be an expanded flat and then go. So there's a lot of different things that could happen, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. We can't see exactly what it's going to do. Charts aren't there to predict things. They're there to show you different probable outcomes. Which ones are more likely? Well, that's up for the person interpreting the chart to figure out. So for me, which one's more likely? Well, I would say we probably need a little more time in here to match this. I mean, not completely the same size, but at least a little bit more time. If we trend sideways for another 2 to 3 weeks, I would say that would be sufficient enough. But I think right now it's just too early to tell because, again, we're right in the middle of the retracement levels. So, and then when in doubt, you just zoom out. So let's zoom out and let's go to the monthly chart. The monthly candle is going to end very soon. And you can see the monthly candle is going to end bullish, but it's also, you're starting to get this green, red situation here. And usually when that happens, you got a little bit more downside to go. You could see kind of similar to here, but I mean, I would like it to be something like this, right? Where you come up, just like how we came up, and then you went green, red, and then boom, you break out. Also over here, green, red, green, but it usually was only a few candles. Now this one was a good example where it actually held, where you went green, red, green, right? Basically back and forth. You're just in a tight range, which ended up breaking out. So that's a good sign to see that. So as long as I would say we're holding above this all-time high in here, what we're doing is we broke out of the all-time high and now we're building a base on the that's bullish. That's very bullish because the price is like, watch, if I flip it upside down, right? We broke the low and now we're testing it. We're getting rejected, right? So we can come and keep going up, which ultimately means upside. Now, on the contrary, you can also say that this is a liquidity grab, right? Where you have there's your support, right? You come down, you break support, you grab liquidity, and then you take it. That would suck. But that could happen. But I don't really see it too much because we're spending a lot of time here. I mean, we're spending quite a bit of time right in here. So I'm just like, I don't really like it a lot. Usually liquidity grabs come in, they get in, they get out fast. It's usually pretty quick. So the fact that we already spent 3 months up here, I don't know. I mean, it could be a bigger distribution event, but that's yet to be seen. I just look at the facts, right? I can tell you anything in the world, but the facts are we're still bullish, very bullish. So let's look at total 3 and total 3 I still think should take out this high up here. I still think I really believe it needs to do that. Because let's say, right, picture yourself as a market maker, right? And you got $10 million, 20, 30, 50 million, whatever. And you want to fill your position and you're basically, if you're short, right? But wouldn't you rather break the high and be able to, have much more liquidity to work with and then take it short? That's usually what happens. They like to break it first and then bring it down. If they're going to do that. I'm not saying they're going to do that at all. I'm just saying if that was their intention, that's what I would think they would do. But, I'm still looking at this as very bullish. We built a nice base here. I mean, look at the base. This was a beautiful base. Now, typically, watch this. I'm going to put it side by side. Now, if we had the same type of thing, right, where we run up, we come down, we go sideways, we go up, that's good, right? But if we ran up, we went down, and we quickly went up, look at the difference. Then I would be much more inclined for downside because you could see this has a base. People were accumulating here. This was an accumulation range, right? So why would they accumulate all of this time only for this little tiny thing right here? That doesn't make any sense to me, doesn't it? right? But if you're a market maker and you come down and you take out the low and then you shoot it up, I could totally see a short coming in, right? Because you went down and you basically, it's like a basketball, right? You drop a basketball from, the Eiffel Tower or whatever, it's going to bounce and then it's going to come down, right? So if it bounces, that's different. This didn't bounce. The price didn't bounce. The price established a base and it broke out. That's not a bounce, right? So we are in the retracement levels. It could still turn around. Doesn't mean it's 100% confirmed, but it's just another point for the bulls that's saying, no, there's bigger plans for this. There's much bigger plans, especially for the altcoins. I mean, the altcoins there's so much in their infancy. I mean, think about it. We don't even have a crypto regulation bill, right? I mean, yeah, it passed through the House, but it's not signed into law, right? We're at the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. And you think to yourself, no, this thing is not at the beginning. It's been going on for 10 years. Yes, in the wild, wild west, it was going on for a long time too before there was actual civilization, right? The crypto gods, right? The crypto, the people who own this space that have the most of the Bitcoin, they have most of the blockchain companies, right? The people who own it, alongside their central bank friends, they don't want regulation. Number one, it's bad for the dollar, right? It's bad for the banking system. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is because then they can do whatever they want and get away with it, right? And I don't like Gary Gensler at all, but Gary Gensler did say, right? I don't believe anything he says, by the way, but his job is to protect investors. And I believe, for how long since Bitcoin was created, investors were not protected. Think about more people lost money, I think, in crypto than they actually made, especially when they fall for these scam coins that, they get ripped off, right? That's why we buy real assets with real utility, with a real community. And you got to look at the developers too. That's why when I look at Ripple and XRP, I look at, I don't see them failing. So I feel comfortable with leaving my money in there. I don't care what the chart looks like. I see longevity in Ripple. When I look at things like, pick a meme coin, I see very fast momentum, a lot of money to be made, but I don't see any longevity. I think people get bored with it, right? Like a Pokemon card. And when I was a kid, I used to, I mean, man, I can't believe how old it is now. I used to have Pokemon cards. Um, and, eventually you get tired of it, right? And it's not the same as when it first came out. But when you look at things like Theta, they're building upon a foundation that is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's what I'm saying. I might be a little more bearish today, but you got to think about the big picture, right? And, price is king. At the end of the day, price is king. People say it doesn't matter what the price says, it matters what the news says. Yeah, but the price, does the price dictate the news or does the news dictate the price? I say both. I say sometimes yes, sometimes no, and sometimes vice versa. It kind of depends on that. So, when I look at XRP, right? I mean, for example, we didn't really create a base. We came down and we had a little thing, but we mostly came back up, right? This whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, is the base. And it is the biggest base in crypto history, right? The way that it looks. A serious contender, right? We have a rise, we have a crash, we have a retrace, we have reaccumulation, and we have sideways. I mean, all the parameters are there to say this thing is going to go. I don't know when that could be. It could be another 6 months from now. I don't know. But, everything is there for people's positions to be fulfilled, right? I mean, my position is there, so it's up for the price to fulfill it. I can see a base here, and I can see another base on top of it. And as long as we're holding that base, I say we're doing good. Now, could it be, uh, some kind of diag, right? I guess you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have an A, you have a B, and now we come down for C. So 1, 2, right? We grab liquidity down here, and then we take it. Absolutely, absolutely. But just because if it does that, does it mean I'm going to sell all my XRP? No. It doesn't mean I'm going to sell crypto? No. I look at the big picture, right? I mean, think about the next president. Think about what the president, President Trump, President Biden, think about what they say. If President Trump wins and crypto innovation thrives and regulations are passed and the XRP lawsuit is over and an ETF comes, I mean, oh my God, that's like the perfect storm for a mega run. And also, we have never broken the 2017, 2018 all-time high. We've been under this thing for what, 6 years? So all of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Actually, we're on our 7th year of doing nothing but building consolidation, right? So it is long overdue. So people are like I was saying earlier in the video, people got to get used to a $70,000 Bitcoin. Well, guess what? There's nobody more used to a 50-cent XRP than everybody, right? Everybody, right? XRP has been at 50 cents forever. So people are so used to it. So what happens is you gain complacency. You say, oh, it's not going to do anything. You check it every day, or every week, and say, oh, it's the same. You begin to establish in your mind that it's not going to do anything. And when you get the naysayers, when you get that type of situation, that's when magic happens. Just like what happened to Dogecoin. I fell into that trap. I looked at Doge and I thought about buying it back in the last bull run. And it was one of the biggest mistakes I made was not doing it. I didn't make money in other coins, but man, Dogecoin would have really put me in a good position. But I looked at it and I thought I was complacent, right? When you look at Doge, first of all, when you look at XRP, right, you're getting complacent. Now look at Doge. So here's Doge, and look at this. This is where XRP is, I believe. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that mess. Look at that sideways ugliness. Like, look how many months that is. I mean, this is the monthly chart. I mean, you got one. I mean, just like in here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That just from here to here, that's 1 year. That's 1 year from here to here. Right? And then think about how complacent you get. Right? And then look at this. It keeps going sideways. Look at when a lot of the coins started taking off, Doge was still flat. I mean, but back in hindsight, right, I wasn't as experienced as I am now, obviously. But, look at this. Look at that base it developed in there, right? It developed a beautiful base, right? It had everything XRP has right now. It has the rise. It has the crash. It has the retrace. It has the reaccumulation, and now it's going sideways. I mean, the structure is different, but it's actually the same, right? We grab the liquidity, we come up, we have a base here, and we're building another base on top of it, and that thing's ready to fly. And look what it did. I mean, look at this. It went crazy. I mean, I could just actually show you the scale of this is insane. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Look at the scale of that. Right? So there we are down here thinking it's never going to do anything. It's just a crappy meme coin. We're just going to go sideways. Right? And then look at this. I'm going up, and up, right? Up. I'm still going. Up. Look at this. This is the scale, guys. This is the magnitude. I'm still going up. Oh my God. When is it going to stop? I mean, we're literally going to the moon. This is a rocket ship, right? We're going up, 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 up. We're still going. We're still going. Wow, is this ever going to end? I mean, look at this. This is why we look at things in log scale, because it's just so freaking massive. You can't even look at, there's the top finally. Now I'll straighten it out. There you go. So when I basically, why it took so long is because I was looking at the scale in this time frame, right? The scale of the chart. So when you look at the scale of it, that thing was huge. Okay, so go back to XRP, right? Go back to XRP and do the same thing. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just here to show you. You know, if you look at XRP in the same scale, right? It actually did it once before, but Dogecoin had 5 waves. XRP is still in its 4th. It still needs number 5, right? So we might get something like that where it just goes, right? And then we're going to be doing the same thing with XRP. Now, I don't think it's going to be as big and as much of a percentage, because obviously the market cap and things like that. But, you know, that's why we, you know, look at it in log scale. You can see, you know, we had wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and now we're in a big wave 4. So, and then also going back to Bitcoin, right? Think about Bitcoin. If Bitcoin, you know, it had a wave 1, right, on that recent wave we had. And remember I was talking about the time, right? Remember the time it takes? This proportionality, this time, right? But look how big this took and look how little this took. So you get alternations, right? So it could be, right, these are not matched in time. So, you know, it could be one short correction for Bitcoin, or it can be a long one. But usually, you know, they're pretty matched with time. So yeah, going back to my example with Doge, look how many people are getting complacent, right? I mean, all through here, right? Especially all through in here, you know, so, and then all of a sudden, right, when you look at what it did back in here, right, how it built a base and now it's kind of going sideways. So, you know, just kind of putting them side by side. I mean, they don't look so much the same, but you got the same idea, right? I mean, you have this massive base in here, right? Same thing, you have this massive base in here. And, you know, again, the key word, complacency. People was all complacent in here. And I missed it, right? A lot of people didn't. And a lot of people actually got in later, but they still made good money. I wasn't willing to risk it, but I didn't know how high it was going to go. But now that I see the structure, I'm actually glad it happened that way, because of, you know, because now when I look at XRP, right, I'm like, wow, this thing has a lot of potential because of all the perimeters, right? It had the rise, it had the crash, it had the retrace, it had the reaccumulation, right? It's in reaccumulation. There's complacency, people saying it's not going to do anything. You have the XRP ETF coming, you know, soon, maybe in another year, I don't know, maybe this year, right? You also have the XRP lawsuit coming. You also have a Ripple IPO. You also have regulation. You have the Ethereum ETF. You just had the Bitcoin ETF. You are going to have more altcoin ETFs as well. I mean, come on. And then plus you build the biggest base in crypto history. Plus, you know, you're talking about a coin that's been in the top 10 since the beginning of time, right? So I mean, how look at the strength of XRP, right? People say, oh, it's weak, it doesn't do anything, it sucks. Well, I disagree, because in its weakest moment, that's when it was actually its strongest, right? Because imagine if, you know, Litecoin or Cardano or somebody had a lawsuit. They would have gotten knocked out of the top 10 so fast you'd make your head spin, right? Now imagine they had a lawsuit for 2-3 years, right? 4 years, right? I mean, they would lose all their money. They'd go bankrupt and they would just quit, right? So that's why Ripple is basically, now, when I say this, don't get up. It might trigger a lot of people, but I mean it with the most respect possible. I'm serious. I look at Ripple like, you know, how I'm not religious. Well, I am, but basically, somebody who sacrificed themselves for everybody else, right? So I look at Ripple like, they're taking the hit. They're getting sacrificed, right? I mean, they're not dying or anything, but I believe there will be, now again, just humor here, not serious, there will be resurrected, right? But you got to think, Ripple is taking the hit for all of crypto, right? So so that this Ripple lawsuit will be etched in the pillars of history forever, which means every lawsuit after that, like let's say Cardano gets sued, what Cardano can then do is use the Ripple case against the SEC, right? So the SEC strategizing, saying, let's sue Ripple, the company, the biggest blockchain company in the United States, the biggest United States coin, right? What coin is the biggest coin in the United States? Well, on average, it's XRP, right? Bitcoin is not American. Ethereum is not American. Tether is not American. Binance Coin is not American, right? I mean, Cardano, yeah, right? Matic, I'm not sure. I don't really know. I think so. And then Solana, right? And then you have XRP. But remember, XRP has been in that threshold for a lot longer. So plus Matic doesn't have a Ripple, right? Solana doesn't have a Ripple. XRP has an entire company that's basically driving, this company. That's why they chose Ripple. But at the end of the day, it backfired, because now if Ripple wins, now every lawsuit after that, they can use that defense. Now, obviously, they have to be still within the parameters of what they say. They can't be scammy like these ICOs and things like that. A lot of coins deserve to die because they are inherently scams, right? But Ripple has a real business model that's being, it's an actual utility-driven situation. So I look at this, right, and everything I just said, right, the lawsuit ending, and then you have this base, you have, the different fractals, and that's just scratching the surface. There's a lot of other things as well, as far as partnerships, Ripple talking to the World Bank, right? I mean, the World Bank mentioning XRP in a document, I mean, that's like they're giving it recognition. When you give somebody recognition, you're giving them, you're basically validating what they are. So, people who say it's a scam, they're totally missing the point. Right? There's no unnecessary mining. Now, mining is important, right, for store of value for certain things, right, and that whole philosophy, it's right. But you also have validator nodes, right, that don't require all the unnecessary, right? Because I look at store of value and mining for like a 1950s Ferrari. You don't really want to drive it every day. You want to drive it once in a while. You want to just leave it in the garage and make it look nice, right? Low miles. But when I look at XRP, when I look at Theta, they don't need mining. They need, validator nodes that it's basically a utility token, right? So I believe utility will win. But utility has gotten beaten up more than most of the coins. I mean, look at the meme coins. They don't have any utility. But what they do have is popularity. What they do have is momentum. What they do have is, it's the brand, right? When you look at the sheep dog, right? You look at his face. It's got that cartoonish look. It's got that brand. It's got that cool factor, right? When you look at some of these cool, like Algorand, right? It's got a weird name, and it's got like a kind of a lousy logo. It's not real cool, right? It doesn't have that cool factor with the young crowd, with that retail crowd, right? So when they look at Algorand, is a great blockchain, right? Gary Gensler even likes it. He talked about how great it was, and I think Algorand's going to be a big success. But we're not in the utility age quite yet. We are in the sort of momentum age. We're in the speculation age. That's why these meme coins are really, powerful. But don't get, just because they're proving themselves now doesn't mean when the tide shifts and we go towards utility, right? Look at the dot-com era, right? It happened a lot faster, but you had like, pets.com and all these interesting names.com, right? But they didn't really stack up against, the bigger companies, right? Like Amazon. Like they look at Amazon like, what the heck is Amazon? It wasn't anything compared to some of these other names that were more catchy, right? It's got a catchy name. It's got a cool brand, right? When you look at the Dogecoin, like look at Doge, right? Look at the dog, right? Who started the meme coin movement? It was really Elon in a way, right? He made people look at it and say, and they liked it. So, please like the video. I mean, I'm over an hour and 10 minutes. If you're still here, congratulations. I was planning on doing a 40-minute video, honestly. And then I just keep talking, and I feel the need to explain things so that people can understand exactly how I'm thinking about it. Just because the way I think about it doesn't mean you have to think about it that way. But I think what I'm saying makes sense. Let me know if it does. So, the biggest thing to take away from everything I'm saying is position yourself ahead of the utility age, right? Utility will win because people are buying where speculation. When you have regulation, when you have real utility, when you have real businesses and companies and corporations and governments looking for solutions for certain things, that's when you get big partnerships. That's when you get big momentum. That's when you have real utility being introduced, right? And that's why I like XRP. That's why I like Theta. That's why I like many others. Algorand, XLM, right? I mean, Matic and Solana, they got utility. Now, when I look at Ethereum, it also has utility, but it's a little clunky and slow. That's why they had to come out with Ethereum 2.0. But I still think I still think since it has the brand recognition, it's established itself, right? It's like, trying to kill Toyota. Like, people know Toyota is a good car, or a Honda, or whatever car, right? Now, a certain car might be better, but it doesn't have that brand recognition, that resale value. And that's kind of how you think about crypto in a way as well, is sort of that recognition that it has gotten. I mean, it stood the test of time, which is important. And people are building on it, which is also important. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Hope you liked it. If you did, hit subscribe, drop a like, or drop a comment, hit the like, and remember, not financial advice. This is just, my opinion. So take it with a grain of salt. Take everybody's opinion with a grain of salt. The only thing that matters is what you believe, right? Don't let me tell you what to believe. Don't let anybody else tell you how to think, what to believe. But gathering information to form your own opinion so that you can execute what's right for your position is why I do this, right? Not because I'm the one and only answer. I think, when I look at YouTube and I look at everybody on these websites and Twitter, I look at every channel as a puzzle piece, right? I'm just one puzzle piece of millions. So, putting these puzzle pieces together and trying to see what the bigger picture is I think, the big picture. So, all right, guys, take care. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.